Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
There's a lot of moxie within the group with the right guys, very fast. Number 8, he's faster than anybody we got, on our defense.
He just go through his reads. He go through his progressions well. I was quite surprised by that. You can expect the ball more for the checkdowns.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Thursday night from downtown Columbia. We have got a fabulous show for you tonight. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, Jared Rogers Martin, all together at our Learfield Studios, Main Street in downtown Columbia. Hope you've had a great day. Looking forward to a great evening with us here on Sports Talk. Take us with you wherever you go. Should you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason tonight, many ways to hang with us on your cell phone, on your laptop, on your iPad. You can find us if you want to. We stream over iHeartRadio, our stations in Greenville and Myrtle Beach. Several stations stream on the TuneIn app, including our Columbia affiliate, which carries us from beginning to end without interruption. Appreciate that. So you can find us there if you need to, if you lose us for whatever reason. But we hope you don't lose us and you can stay with us over the airwaves. Coming up tonight, Will Merritt, who was not with us last night, had some personal things going on. He'll be with us in a few minutes to give the Clemson side of things, heading to Florida State. He was abused last night in his absence by Corey Miller, so he'll have a chance to respond to the Gamecock side of things as well without interruption, though it's hard to interrupt Will to begin with. So we'll get that from him coming up. We'll have the coach and the quarterback, Chuck Reedy and Steve Tannehill, at the bottom of the hour. An update on recruiting for you as well. We'll hear from USC's David Williams. We'll also hear from the Tigers as well as we continue to look ahead to their game with Florida State. And special guest tonight at 7:20 this evening, best-selling author Jeff Pearlman, whose new book on Brett Favre is out called Gunslinger. So this should be very interesting. Favre did not talk to him about the book. He wrote this without interviewing Favre. He refused to cooperate for whatever reason. So it's not a biography. Well, it is a biography. It's not an autobiography or whatever.
It's not an authorized.
I don't think it's authorized.
Unauthorized biography.
Yeah. I would say so. The remarkable, improbable, iconic life of Brett Favre. Gunslinger. Mm-hmm. That's a great title for the book, and it fits. Yeah, it fits him.
Jeff does a great job. He wrote a biography on Walter Payton. He wrote one on the Mets. He did one on the Showtime Lakers. That was really good. He does a very good job with those books. I think he's working on one now on the USFL.
Well, he used to write for Sports Illustrated. So if you write for Sports Illustrated, you've got talent.
And, of course, authors do books without interviewing guys. The guy's still writing books on Lincoln. I don't think they can talk to him.
Yeah, unless they do it.
There's ways. I know people.
All right, so we got a great show lined up for you. If you want to jump on board with us here early on to get some thoughts in, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Well, we're looking ahead to the big weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. South Carolina should treat this game like a bowl game without all the partying, because it's a big opportunity for them at home. There should be a big crowd. It should be a packed house at night. The weather is just going to be fantastic.
Is it?
For late October. Temperatures in the 80s on Saturday, climbing in the 80s. Now, I haven't checked the rain chance, but don't think there's very much. So you should have a great night. Gamecocks are getting 13.5 points at home. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm taking the points. Taking the points.
Okay, well, I know I'm not taking the points.
Taking the points. Had a good week last week, 3-2.
You're still in last place.
You were 2-3, yeah, so I gained a little bit. I'm just chopping wood. It's all I'm doing right now is chopping wood.
One day at a time.
It's that time of the year. Just have to grind it out and work your way back up towards the top. Who had the best week last week? Pro. You went 4-1. Mm-hmm. Kev Cohen continues to lead the pack at 3-2 last week. 23-17. Jarmart was 3-2, 21-19. So anyway, I'm taking the points. You're obviously taking Tennessee and laying the points.
Yeah, I think so.
Pro, what are you going to do?
I don't know what I'm going to do yet. One thing I know is when I look at 13, it had been 14 or 15, I'm thinking points. I'm not sure. You know why?
They lose close games?
No, because I don't trust Butch Jones.
You don't trust him?
No.
What do you take from you?
Just when you think they're about to blow somebody out, they give up the ghost. And then other times when you think they're going to get upset, they win the football game. So Butch Jones teams are kind of schizophrenic.
Well, this series here of late has been very close. Games have been very, very tight. South Carolina has blown some opportunities here last couple of years to beat the Vols. I think they feel pretty good about themselves. I think if the offensive line can protect, that's a big if, but if they can protect and give Bentley some time, I'm sure this week the passing game will be a little bit more a little deeper, and more things for him to in the playbook for him to turn to in the passing game compared to last week, where I thought they kept it very simple.
Well, I'm kept it pretty simple all season. It seems like
I'm thinking, offense. Well, they have to when you have true freshmen. But the key here is, I think if anybody thinks about South Carolina and the pass rush that Tennessee has, think about short passes being your running game, throwing on first down, and then maybe if you can get 4 or 5 yards of crack, even just on short passes, 6-7 yards if you're good, you can move the football that way. Then when they expect the short pass to come and bite on the short stuff, then maybe you can hit it with a deep ball.
All right, we promised some quick calls tonight. Let's do it here on Sports Talk. Glenn in North Charleston. How are you, sir? Good to have you with us on Sports Talk.
How you doing, guys?
Outstanding.
Yeah, you can't beat this weather, and I don't think it's going to make 80. My odds are going to be comfortable this weekend, even better than it was today. Today was beautiful.
Yes.
But otherwise, you all know what this is. You know what holiday's coming up. So crazy things has happened on Halloween. So spirits will be roaming about maybe Saturday night in Carolina's favor.
Well, now let's see. Halloween is actually on what?
Monday.
It's on Monday.
But it's the weekend of. So.
Are the Gamecocks going to dress in black and the Vols dress in orange like they've done before on Halloween? When the game actually was played on Halloween? That'd be kind of neat if they would do that. Haven't seen haven't seen the uniform report yet for either side, but I think the Gamecocks can win this thing. I don't think for any matter that it's going to be a walkover.
Based on what? I mean, they're a 13.5-point underdog.
In Jake.
They have not beat an SEC team not named Vanderbilt
since
2014.
Two guys named Jake I believe in. Jake Bentley and Jake from State Farm. Believe in those two guys.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
You're basing that on one game against UMass. You believe in Jake Bentley?
Well, I think that South Carolina has shown at various times through the season some good things, okay? They just haven't put it all together against a good team. I mean, the only SEC win they've had the last 2 years has been against Vanderbilt. So it's time to beat somebody that's good. Now, Tennessee, they played a tough schedule first half of the season. They've had some disappointments. They've had a couple of weeks to get ready, but they are a banged-up football team. If they keep Dobbs to under 50 rushing yards. If you can keep him under 50 rushing yards, make him beat you with his arm. Don't let him beat you as a runner. That's where they've had problems with these mobile quarterbacks in the past. I certainly think he's a greater threat as a runner than a passer from what I've seen. Anybody disagree?
He can throw the deep ball. His short balls, he tends to try to fit in the eye of a needle. That's why he turns the football over a lot. It's interesting. They, of course, everybody knows the football game last year. They were right on the doorstep, and then tight end fumbles the football.
Sure.
But here's the interesting thing about South Carolina. This team, you don't know when they're going to turn the corner. Todd Ellis can tell you he walked into Georgia Tech with an 8th-ranked team, got beat by a team that had one game in 21 tries, and then 2 years later that Georgia Tech team won a share of the national title.
Okay. So who learned the lesson there? We'll be right back.
The big guys are up next. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. It's the M&M Boys. This is Sports Talk.
All right, so I'm not saying South Carolina's going to win, but I'm taking the points. I'll get back with you on whether or not I think they'll upset the Vols. Now, Clemson and Florida State, I like the Tigers here, and I'm laying the 4.5. I know they haven't done well in Tallahassee over the years. I just have a feeling, Will Merritt, that they're going to get it done on Saturday night. What say you?
Yeah, well, first things first. What is this rumor that I hear about Corey Miller, like just talking smack about me last night?
He lit you up as if he was blitzing on you, and got around the corner against you and smashed into the quarterback.
I've blocked bigger and better than Corey Miller.
Oh!
Okay. Yeah, I've blocked bigger and better than Corey Miller.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Can you name one?
And blacker. It's hard to get blacker than Corey. It's hard to get blacker than Corey. Okay. I've blocked bigger, better, and blacker than Corey Miller.
Can you name one who has all that in the package?
How about Julius Peppers?
Oh,
let's talk about that.
How'd you do
For
against him?
4 years, I tried to block that guy.
Try. You said try. Did you block him?
I tried. Very unsuccessful.
Okay. Well, who was tougher? Who was tougher, Julius Peppers or Corey Miller?
Bill, let me tell you a quick story. I came to the sideline one time. Julius Peppers, he batted a ball up in the air.
Right.
He hit one and then dove and intercepted
Remember that play.
Okay. You remember that play?
Oh, yeah.
K-Mike does.
I came to the sideline, and my offensive line coach, I swear to God, this is exactly what happened. He said, Merritt, what the blank happened? And I said, DNA, coach. DNA happened.
DNA,
said, God just gave him gifts that he didn't give me. And he's just better than I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes you just have to realize that.
You got to admit that somebody's just better than you are.
Yeah. Peppers, he's done okay for himself.
Yeah, he's had a nice career.
Well, I mean, $75 million later, I think he's done okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's on my team. All right, now back to the matter at hand. Tigers, Florida State, down there. Do they get it done? Do they get it done this time?
Yeah, I can't go against my boys because they have a track record right now. I mean, they go on the road, they win. They're at home, they win. They find a way to win. I was with Street yesterday, and we had lunch yesterday, and we were talking about it. And I said, you just don't bet against this team right now. You just don't.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you bet against Clemson right now? Why would you do it? Because even when it looks like it turned against them, they still find a way to win. So why would you bet against them?
Yeah, I certainly would not. That's why I'm taking Clemson and laying I don't think 4.5. I mean, Florida State can do some things offensively, and they have some good players on defense, but something's missing on the defense. Maybe the safety being out has really thrown them off, because he did so many things. But
I'll tell you what they're missing.
Okay,
I'll tell you what they're missing. They're missing inspiration right now, because I do not believe for 1 second they're inspired. They're not an inspired football team. They're not a football team that goes out there thinking they're going to win. And listen, I like Jimbo Fisher, but I will tell you this right now. I do not believe that he's the type of guy that walks in that locker room that all those players believe that he's going to inspire them and will them to a victory. He's just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side of that, I think Clemson has a guy that, they could be down by 40 points with 3 minutes to play, and they still believe they're going to win.
Yeah. There's a certain swag to the Clemson football team, swag to the Clemson football team, been going on for quite a while. But now let's just talk about it from a concern standpoint. They cannot turn the football over the way they have, like they did against NC State, like they did against Louisville. Those kind of mistakes are going to get them beat down there probably.
Yeah, no question. I think that's a really good point. And let me tell you what Florida State does. One thing that actually plays into Clemson's favor is they play that backer bear defense. And so they have 3 down linemen, then they walk those 2 linebackers up, and they try to cover every single offensive lineman. So they try to go with a bare front.
Mm-hmm.
That actually plays into Clemson's favor because they can actually block those guys up front, and level 1 is secure. And if you secure level 1, let me tell you what Clemson has that you don't: speed in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go to the wide receiving core and their tight ends and their wide receivers are one-on-one with you in open field, you're going to lose. You're going to lose every time.
This
so
be like the
what
Revenant.
you don't want to do is you don't want to cover those guys up front. Now, we're getting a little bit technical term here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, X's and O's standpoint, Florida State actually plays into Clemson's favor when they go to block somebody.
And with this Clemson team now as established as it is, you don't really worry about going on the road into a hostile environment, right? Because of what they did last year and what they've already done this year by going to Auburn and winning there.
I'm not
Georgia Tech and winning there. You see no issues there.
None whatsoever.
Okay. All right. Now, Corey's not here, but you got to talk about the new Gamecock era with Jake Bentley and, turning that program around after beating UMass.
Do you not see how pleasant it is, Phil, with not having Corey on the show? It's so pleasant. I get to speak freely.
Well, I'm going to keep you two paired now. We're not separating you. We're going to keep you paired. It's more fun.
It's just so nice. I love it so much.
So what do you think now as a Clemson guy looking down the road to late November? Are the Gamecocks going to get a lot better between now and then?
Actually, I think that South Carolina's in a really good position to get a whole lot better. I think they're going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never tell Corey that because he would run with that. He would act like that I actually care about him whatsoever. No, I think they're going to get better.
Yeah.
I think that and listen, what I saw out of Bentley, the quarterback, here's the one thing that I saw. He actually made really good decisions at the very last minute of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all notice that? Like at the end of plays, I mean, when he needed to throw the ball out of bounds, he threw the ball out of bounds. When he needed to spike the ball, he spiked the ball. Even his offensive lineman, when he got him back to the huddle, he was constantly making really good decisions. And that's being the son of a coach. He just got that intangible quality about him that he just knows what to do. And I think that's going to bode well for Coach Muschamp, and I think that's going to bode well for South Carolina in general. I think that he's actually going to be a really good quarterback, and I think South Carolina is probably going to score a ton of points under his tutelage.
But not right now. It's going to
do you give
be
him,
a while.
You give him any
how
chance?
Quickly are we going to see this?
You give him any chance against Tennessee?
None whatsoever.
Okay. Okay. None whatsoever. Will they lose
whatsoever.
within the margin of the spread of 13?
Oh, they'll lose with dignity.
Okay.
Death with dignity is important.
They are going to lose. Okay. Very good. So you see, do you see Clemson covering the 4.5? You see this game being close at all down there?
You know what? I do think it's going to be close. I do think Clemson's going to win the ball game. And I'll go back to what we said a few minutes ago. I do think they're going to win the game. But yeah, that's a tough place to play, Phil.
Yes,
that is a tough place to play.
Yes, it is. I mean,
when
you were there playing, and
I've lost there many a time.
Well, I was going to say when the guy comes out and throws the lighted spear down at midfield, does it freak you out?
No, it doesn't freak me out. I'll tell you this. Rich Bisaccia, I don't know if you remember him or not.
Oh, yeah.
But he was the running backs coach when I was playing there.
Hurry, got 30 seconds.
One time that he mirrored the guy and wouldn't let him throw the spear down in the middle of the field. And he actually dodged the guy.
Oh, my
gosh. He goes, if they can't throw the spear in the ground, they can't win. So
who won the game?
I'll never forget.
Who won?
We won.
Oh, y'all won.
That was the one time that Clemson beat Florida State. since they joined the ACC in Tallahassee. So that's the secret. Don't let Chief Osceola plant the spear.
He'll throw it into you the next time.
Will, we thank you, my man. Appreciate you very much. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next week. Back in a moment.
We go inside the huddle with the coach and the quarterback up next. This is Sports Talk.
Once again, thanks to Will Merritt for being with us tonight. A little off schedule for him. Normally with us with Corey Miller on Wednesday, but he was tied up last night. So glad to get him on tonight. Now let's go to the quarterback and the coach, Steve Tannehill and Chuck Reedy, joining us tonight. Coach Tannehill, how are you?
I'm good, man. Appreciate it.
I still call you Coach. Coach Reedy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Phil. Thank you.
Great to have you too. By the way, Coach Reedy, if I may get personal with you for a moment, I don't go on Facebook very much, but I saw a very lovely picture of you and Debbie, your wife, down there in Caracas and Turkey, wherever y'all were.
Caracas and Turkey.
And
those are two very different places, Corn.
But and I know both of you, well. I know her, I know you. And so how were you taller than her in this picture compared to like when we see you in real life?
Well, when she wears, when she doesn't have her high heels on, probably taller than she is.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. But
that's what it is, yeah. And it's Turks and Caicos.
Turks and Caicos.
We're going to get that straight one of these days.
If it's not in Dillon County, Corn doesn't know where it is on a map.
That's right.
I'm just waiting for you to buy your palatial estate down there with an extra room for me to come stay, and then I'll figure it out how to get there.
Where the rich people go. I told y'all that's where the rich
That's it, man. Listen,
Coach Reedy's in that high
Coach Tannehill, all you got to get yourself a high-paying FBS job for 3 or 4 years, get fired, and you're set. That's all it is.
How close is that to the Bermuda Triangle?
That's a good question.
It's not. I don't.
All right, let's get to it. Steve Bentley, what'd you think of him last Saturday? Obviously, it was a good move, maybe the right move, and the turning of the page here a little bit, or too much to expect?
I thought he played well, but I expected it. UMass isn't very good. I was impressed by the wideouts. I thought they made some catches that they haven't made this year. But I expected Jake to play well. I coached against him when he was a 10th or 9th grader, and you could see it. He's been born and raised to be a quarterback. And again, I don't think that we should, at any point discount McElwain's ability to get better. But I thought Jake played well. But again, I just don't think UMass was very good. And but I was more impressed with the wideout and some of the catches they made. Crosby's coach's son and had a great catch. But I thought Jake played well. I liked his emotion. That's the one thing that I saw that I was really impressed with. And he was having fun. He was excited and pumped. And that's what they need. They need something to just give them some energy on offense because they're just not very good. And I thought he brought that to the table, and I was impressed.
Chuck, from watching that game and watching the game plan that they dialed up for him, it seemed to be, from a passing game standpoint, rather simplistic. I mean, you would know more, obviously, than we would. I want your take on that. And do you think with Tennessee coming now, SEC guys coming in, they'll be a little more complex with things on the offensive side?
Yeah, I mean, they threw that little screen. I don't know how many times, but and I tell you, definitely they're going to have to, they're going to have to do more than that. But the thing that impressed me about him, and it was UMass, but I tell you what, he had a lot of poise. He didn't force anything, and he wasn't afraid when he knew that he had single coverage. I mean, he was, willing to throw it up, and he put the ball, on all of his deep throws. I mean, he gave his guys a chance, to make plays. And but sometime, near the end of the game, when he threw about a 20-yard curl in between two guys for a first down, that was a big time throw. And that's the kind of stuff he can do. I mean, he can throw the intermediate stuff. I think because he's got, obviously he's got, great arm strength, and so those are the kind of things, certainly they're going to have to do. They can't live with that little screen.
Steve, you said you have faced Jake, and so you've seen him before. You've prepared for him. So now Tennessee's probably going to come in here with a defensive game plan to try and confuse him and come at him from various angles. Do you think, even though he's just a rookie, a true freshman, will he be able to handle reading the defense and making the right decisions in what will likely be a short amount of time with those defensive ends crashing down?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with if the O-line can hold up. There's a difference between sitting back there for 4 seconds and sitting back there for 1.5. As far as confusing him, I'm going to say Jake Bentley's watched more film than any other 19-year-old in the country. I know how Bobby does it, and I got a lot of respect for Coach Bentley, and I'm going to say Jake's prepared mentally for what he's going to see. The speed of the game will be a lot different. What you see from Tennessee will be 5 times faster than what you saw from UMass, and that'll create problems, and that pocket will shrink a lot quicker. I did like a few times where he showed some strength and broke a tackle, and he wasn't just taking off to run. He was looking for some plays downfield. They had one early in the game where he broke a tackle. It might have been late in the third quarter. He threw one to Debo, and Debo had to dive and make that catch. But in a big game, Debo's got to make that catch. Jake made a heck of a play to get out of some trouble. It wasn't a great throw, but Debo dove and didn't make the play. But in a big game like Saturday, with a lot on the line, Debo's got to make that play. So I liked a lot of things he did. They did dink and dump so much. I don't know how many. Honestly, when I interrupted Coach, I'm sorry, but there was so many dink and dump screens. I mean, everything Debo caught was a screen, and he made some plays. But again, there's a big difference between Tennessee and UMass and the players that are on each side of the ball.
Yeah, no question. Got to ask you something too. Just looking at the history between South Carolina and Tennessee, in the series, the Gamecocks went from 18. Give me just a second here. I just had it. The Gamecocks went from 19. Okay, they beat the Vols in 1903. Didn't beat them again. Didn't play every year, but didn't beat them again until 1992 on Halloween. And we all know who the quarterback was that day. Or was that game played during the day or night?
Night game. It ended up being towards the night. It might have been a 6.
So, here you are, a true freshman. You've taken over the football team, and you direct this win over Tennessee as part of that 4-game winning streak that you took the Gamecocks on. What do you recall about that, and remember what it was like to beat those guys?
Well, it was unbelievable, just the excitement in the stadium. But we had already beat Mississippi State, who was ranked, and I had got my feet wet. Really, I played most of the game against Alabama, who won the national championship that year. So I had played. What Jake's going through is he's really just sat there. And then he gets to play against UMass, which I don't want to say anything bad about UMass, but it's really not getting your feet wet in the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out, but you're not going to be able to throw lateral screens. He's going to have to throw some, in routes and curl routes and smash routes, and he's going to have to do some more things because I don't think we'll be able to run the ball against Tennessee's front, and he's going to have to make some clutch throws, which I think he can make. But again, he's got to have time, and those guys on the outside, a quarterback is only as good as the guys around them. You can have the best player in the world if the guys around him don't make plays and your O-line don't block. You're not going to look that good. So I think he showed me a lot, and I expected it. But this is a different bird this week. And can they win? I think they can. I think our game, us winning, comes down to actually South Carolina's defensive line, and can we control the running game of Tennessee? If Tennessee runs for 300 yards, we have no chance.
Yeah. All right, hang on. We'll come back, talk about Florida State. By the way, I hate to remind you of this, but when you went to Knoxville the next year, they beat you 55-3. So we'll be.
Oh, I know.
we'll be right back with the coach and the quarterback. That almost sounds like the Florida State band there playing, the drums there, like they're going to be doing against Clemson on Saturday night. We'll find out what the coach and the quarterback think of that in a moment. It's Sports Talk presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. All right, Chuck, Tigers are going down to Tallahassee, favored by 4.5. They don't win down there very often, but, they should have won 2 years ago. Do they take care of business down there, you think, and how do they?
Well, I think they do. As we've said before, you've got to be able to elevate your level of play, 2 or 3 times during the course of the regular season. And this is one of those times. And they've Clemson's. They've got this is everything. Their whole season as far as continuing toward the playoffs and everything. All of that's on the line, and this is Deshaun Watson's show. I mean, I think you'll see him rise to the occasion and play probably better than he's played all year. They've got Gallman. Obviously he's going to be back. They've got to be able to run the ball some. But, I think this will be the Deshaun Watson show Saturday night. Florida State, I think Clemson's going to get the best Florida State team that's played all year. But, I don't think it'll be enough in the end.
What do you think is going on with Florida State's defense? I mean, they're scoring 30 points a game. They're giving up 29 points a game. That's not very Florida State-like defensively.
No, it's not. They've lost some defensive coordinators, and the guy that's there now, I think this is his second year as a defensive coordinator, and he was elevated from the staff. So, but certainly it's not typical, and they've got certain talent, at all 11 positions. I mean, they recruit, like Alabama does, and so they've got talented players, but they just, they certainly haven't played as well defensively, as you would expect them to.
Hey, before I forget about South Carolina and Tennessee with you, do you think the Gamecocks can win?
Yeah, I do. And I think Steve hit the nail on the head. They first down is going to be critical defensively for them. Hurd can't, they can't be 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5. If they can stop Tennessee on first down, put them in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, and not let them run the ball up and down the field, then I think they've got a good chance to win. Tennessee, they've been on an emotional roller coaster the whole year. They had some very emotional wins early on, and then some devastating losses the last couple games. And so if South Carolina can hang in there and get the game into the fourth quarter, I think it's certainly a winnable game for them.
Steve, Deshaun Watson, he's having a very good year. Most quarterbacks would be very, very pleased to have the kind of year he's having. But people aren't talking about him as the Heisman front runner right now. They're talking about the quarterback at Washington. They're talking about the quarterback at Louisville. Some are saying it's that kid's award now. Where do you think Watson is going to fit in this Heisman race if Clemson continues to win? And what kind of game are you expecting from him Saturday night?
Well, I think he's a big game player. We've talked about it, every time you've had me on, and I have a lot of respect for Watson. I think he's the real deal. I think he'll be the number 1 pick in the draft. I think he'll play well. Clemson really has to only protect against number 44 for Florida State. That guy's a monster, but I don't think Florida State's defensive line from top to bottom is as good as it normally is. Now, they have talent, don't get me wrong, but I think Watson can have a big game. I think it's one of those games, to be honest with you, that Clemson could win, 42-20, or it could be a 28-21, 28-24 game. It's really, Clemson's just been so up and down, but I think Clemson's the better team. It doesn't, where it's at, I don't think it matters. Clemson has a lot of vets, and I think Watson will step up. I don't think Watson cares about the Heisman as much as he does getting his team another shot at the big dance and in that Final Four. So And I don't know the young man, so.
Yeah.
But I'm just going by what I think. I don't think he cares as much about the Heisman as he does about his team and getting into that Final Four. Which, if you get your team into the Final Four, you have a chance at that thing. I think right now the quarterback at Louisville has it, but we're in October, and I don't think you win the Heisman in September and October. You get your name in the list.
Mm-hmm.
I think you win the Heisman in November.
So, does Clemson win Saturday night?
I think they do. I just don't think Florida State has enough besides the tailback. Now, if they let the tailback, rush, Cook's pretty good. I think his name's Cook, number 4.
Mm-hmm.
If he rushes for 150 and he's great out of the backfield, I think you'll see him be one of the top 20 picks in the NFL draft as well. If they let him catch a bunch, I just don't think that Florida State has enough to play with Clemson. And again, like I said, I think it can go either way. I think it could be a blowout by Clemson, and I think it could be a close game depending on how Clemson comes out. But I think Clemson wins.
All right, Coach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Clemson wins. And, as far as Deshaun Watson, I mean, this is probably his showcase for the Heisman. It'll be the last opportunity that he has on the big stage. And if he has a great game Saturday night, then I think he gets right back in the mix. I just think Clemson's too good on both sides of the ball. They're going to find a way to win.
Guys, as always, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Coach Tannehill, pour a number of beers down there at group therapy over the weekend. Coach Reedy,
Halloween, man, you never know. You never know what happens on Halloween.
Coach Reedy, you have a great weekend hanging out, doing whatever it is that you do on the weekend. And we will talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
I appreciate it, Phil.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, man.
Y'all take care. And, hey, listen, when you're in 5 Points, go by and see Steve at group therapy and visit with him. He'll love to see you and talk to you. Let's dive into some recruiting here before we hit the top of the hour. Last night, USC offered defensive back Keyshawn Nixon of Arizona Western Junior College. Travaris Robinson called with the offer. He knows Jamarcus King, so he's getting some info on the Gamecocks from him. He's also considering offers from Missouri, Oregon, and Mississippi State at this point. He's got an official to Missouri set for November 25th. He has 2 years of eligibility, 3 years to play 2. He's out of Compton, California. He's got 5 interceptions this year. Defensive end Matthew Butler of Garner, North Carolina, has taken officials to Duke and Penn State. He'll take an official to NC State November 5th. He's been to USC, Tennessee, and NC State unofficially for games this season. He's also considering Texas A&M. He's not sure if he'll get back to USC for a game or for an official visit this season. He does remain in regular contact with the Gamecocks. Still no favorite for him and no game for him this weekend as far as attending one. Offensive lineman Crojon Calbert, I got that wrong, K'Ron Calbert, McMinnville, Tennessee, visiting USC this weekend. He was offered last night by Tennessee. Also has a USC offer. Was at USC unofficially for Texas A&M. Also offers from Florida, Kentucky, Louisville, Penn State, Missouri, and South Florida. 2018 defensive back Israel Mukamu of Berkeley has a USC offer. Is coming in for the Tennessee game. Likes the coaching staff, likes the people there. He's also hearing from Clemson, but has not been offered. Also has offers from Wake Forest and Coastal. USC currently leads. Wake is not far behind. 2018 tight end Mustafa Muhammad of Missouri City, Texas, has a Clemson offer from last spring. The Tigers are keeping in touch. He hopes to come in to visit Clemson either in the spring or the summer. He'd love to get to a game in Death Valley as well. He's big time. Other offers are LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Texas, TCU, and others. Got some basketball news we'll share with you after the top of the hour break.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, hour number 2 from downtown Columbia. K-Mac, Professor, Korn, Jarmart, all together from our studios in downtown Columbia. Let me wrap up recruiting. Had a couple of more notes to share with you. One in football. 2018 defensive back Kyler McMichael, Norcross, Georgia, was at Clemson on Tuesday. He plans to be at USC for the Tennessee game. He's not been offered by either, but he will be at some point. His offer list right now: Virginia Tech, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Notre Dame, Auburn, North Carolina, Florida, Michigan, Michigan State. About Clemson, he said it was nice, very friendly coaches, nice facilities, and he's also been in touch with USC linebackers coach Coleman Hutzler. And in basketball, checking in on the 6'10 standout from Legacy Charter in Greenville, Nick Claxton, announcing 4 o'clock on November 14th. Talking with his dad. Of course, he took officials to Florida State, USC, Georgia, Baylor, and NC State in that order. All 5 are in the mix. His father, Charles, is a former 7-foot center for Georgia who played briefly in the NBA with Boston back in 1992, played 3 games with the Celtics. That was it for his NBA career. He's from the Virgin Islands, one of, I think it was 3 players from the Virgin Islands to play in the NBA, with Tim Duncan being the most notable. Mm-hmm. He's actually from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. So anyway, he enjoyed all his visits. They've this is the last week any coaches can have contact with him. They're cutting it off after this week to make their decision. Frank Martin was in. Mark Fox was in. Mark Gottfried was in. An assistant from Baylor was in this week, and Florida State is due in on Saturday. Martin was joined by Matt Figger and Perry Clark. Mr. Claxton said the visit went well. They've done an excellent job. They've done all they can do. He said Frank has always believed in Nicholas, been recruiting him 2 to 3 years. Told him if he comes to South Carolina, they'll put him in good position to move on to his goal to play in the NBA. And, of course, being a South Carolina kid, his name in state will go a long way if he plays at South Carolina. So now they're going to sit back, do their due diligence, pros and cons. He's going to contact the coaches on November 13th with his decision and then reveal the next day. It will come down to the fact that all 5 schools are great. Mr. Claxton said he'll pick the school that he thinks is where it's most comfortable for him in the system. He gets along well with all the coaches. The environment with each is good, and the parents are taking their hands off. It's all on Nicholas as he goes over the pros and cons of each school and makes his decision. One other basketball note from a South Carolina standpoint, the Gamecocks are involved with another big man, and he is 6'10", Felipe Haas of Miami. He's visiting Pittsburgh today. He's been to Missouri. He has been to Purdue. He's going to Louisville next week and then to South Carolina. According to Gamecock Central, he's going to visit South Carolina next weekend at the tail end of a back-to-back official visit trip. 6'10", out of Miami. Frank Martin, of course, has connections down there. Shaky Rodriguez is one of the coaches on his AAU team. And, you know, Shaky and Frank are, I think, pretty tight for their days gone by. So keep an eye on this guy. A couple of other notes. 6'7", Christian Brown, 2019 standout from AC Flora, going to Georgia Tech for a visit this weekend. Did not make it to Auburn last weekend. 6'7", Zion Williamson, 2018 class of Spartanburg, will visit North Carolina next weekend. Clemson is in touch daily. He's not hearing that much, according to his dad, from USC at this point. And Florida State and Xavier Thomas. He's not going to make the visit to Florida State this weekend as he had planned. Something's come up. The 2018 defensive end from Wilson, so he'll be staying at home. And D1 Baseball ranks the USC recruiting class for 2016 number 10 nationally and Clemson number 13. That's recruiting. Follow it on our website, sportstalksc.com, on Twitter. Use the hashtag #STRecruiting. You can even find some recruiting information on the Twitter feed. K-Mac must really, really die.
Thanks, Corn. Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, listen. You get any more followers?
You added a couple reallys in there.
Oh, it's just one really?
Actually, since you said that, I think I lost 5 followers.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Is it not K-Mac must really die?
No, it's just
K-Mac must die. Why did you pick up? Why did you use that name? It's just
my wife picked it.
Oh, is that right? She's looking for that post-death collection of funds.
I'm worth more dead than alive, as has been pointed out to me many times.
All right, one of the surprises for USC K-Mac in the win over UMass was David Williams.
Yeah,
nobody thought he was going to start.
I put him in the scrap heap,
and he played well. And you had a chance to talk to him.
He did play well, and of course, people still want to talk about that other guy that played in front of him, Jake Bentley. But Williams did play well and was proud of how the freshman played at quarterback.
I just think we was just determined that bye week. We got our minds right, and we came out and practiced tough. It was a tough week that week leading up to the game.
Any difference with having Jake in the quarterback in terms of what you guys were able to do in the passing game, and maybe it could open up the running game?
I think he just was poised out there and was confident. That's what I think his biggest thing was, being confident and knowing he can make certain throws and making that actually happen.
David, you had an interesting quote about Jake on Saturday following the game, saying that when he was third string, he didn't give up. That's kind of similar to you. When, preseason camp started and you kind of fell in the depth chart. Can you just talk about your grind and your workload going all the way back up?
Oh, yeah, he led by example. Me seeing him going out with a great attitude, because he could have pouted and I could have did the same thing, but I just continued to make myself better. Me moping around wouldn't make me better, and then when my number was called, I wouldn't be prepared.
The difference, though, he was a freshman. You've been around here for a couple of years, so it's a little different when a guy's been around here for a couple of years is third on the depth chart as opposed to a guy who was basically fresh out of high school.
Yeah, it's humbling. I tell you that, it's humbling.
Has it made you better? Has it made you more?
Yeah, it made me a better person, and just how to handle adversity. It made me better with handling adversity.
Do you think that the last 2 weeks of practice, the increased physicality have helped the run game and will continue to against Tennessee?
I think so, and I think we got to have that same mindset going into Tennessee, because they're a physical football team, and we just got to force our will on them.
Folks have actually run on them pretty well. Is that something y'all are aware of? You feel like you can do?
I think if the line come out and everybody do what they're supposed to do, we can have a great day.
What does Donnell Stanley bring by that group up front?
Oh, well, his first day was coming back today. He looked good out there. He looked like he was fresh and aware of what was going on.
Big guy, physical guy?
Big physical guy that can move.
If you guys are able to run the ball, just how much does it make the whole offense just flow better when you guys have that option?
Well, I think the run complements the pass game. We're not going to be predictable if we can run the ball, because we can switch it up. We can pass the ball and run the ball, so hopefully it balance out.
Do you consider your pass protection a strength in your game?
Yeah, I think it is one of the strengths of my game. I think I use that as an advantage.
What's the biggest difference now having Jake under center as opposed to anyone else?
He just go through his reads. He go through his progressions well. I was quite surprised by that, and you just can expect the ball more for the checkdowns.
On Saturday, when you guys were stretching the field, throwing the deep ball, how much does that help you in opening things up and giving you a little more room?
Well, I think that helps the run game a lot, because you're not expecting it, and also you don't got 8, 9 people in the box knowing you're going to run it.
How critical was it to get him? I guess if you're going to take the red shirt off of him, you do it after a bye week. You do it against a non-SEC opponent. Just going forward, how much do you think he'll improve or try to improve this week?
Well, I think he's going to get better and better, because his confidence going to keep building each week. So hopefully we can go out there and take advantage of our opportunities on Saturday night.
K-Mac, why do we let Reggie Anderson ask questions?
I put in a strongly worded letter to Steve Fink that should not be allowed, but I was told that he's allowed to ask questions.
He should be muzzled. Should be questions are just,
stupid. Well, he's in there with a mic. First, you got to take the mic from him. If he doesn't have the mic, he won't ask the question.
Well, this is true. Well, he's carrying his camera too, right? He's got the camera on the shoulder and the mic stuck way out there. I just think the guy just asks stupid questions. But that's just my opinion. All right. We've got a game going on right now in Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech. Did they score?
Field goal, and then Pittsburgh fumbled the ensuing kickoff, but they held them down. So it's 2 field goals for Va Tech, 6-0.
6-0. Virginia Tech 3-1 in the Coastal, and Pittsburgh is 2-1. Back in a moment. it's not very often we get very smart people to join us here on Sports Talk, but it's our pleasure to welcome in the award-winning author, Jeff Pearlman, here to Sports Talk. His new book, Gunslinger, The Remarkable, Improbable, Iconic Life of Brett Favre. It is now available. If you are a diehard, long-time, lifelong Packer fan, as am I, it's a must-buy. It's a must-read. I'm already getting emotional just looking at the cover. Jeff, how you doing?
Not pretty.
I just want to say I am from a small town in upstate New York, and I have hauled firewood.
He did hear me say that.
I'm totally good, man. I'm from Mahopac, New York. What do you think we did in the winter? We went out in the back and got firewood.
There you go. Good for you. Well, remember now, when you buy your firewood, you can transfer all kinds of insects and stuff, so just be careful what you do with it.
I moved to Southern California. I don't need firewood anymore.
Very good.
The fires there are not the good kind.
No. All right, this book on Brett, it's thick. It looks like a great read. And how much
good firewood?
Yeah.
Good firewood.
How much fun did you have putting this book together?
I loved it. It was my favorite. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. It was. It's my 7th book, and it was my favorite experience. It was just. I really love. This is gonna sound weird. It's weird I always have to explain it for like a kind of Jewish liberal guy from New York, but I love the state of Mississippi. Yeah. I love reporting in Mississippi. I love digging through Mississippi. I love everything about it. And that book brought me back to Mississippi for the first time since Walter Payton. And I just had a blast. I really did. It was great.
How much time did you spend in the state?
Oh, a lot. And a lot with the, it's funny. He didn't talk for the book, but his family did, which is a unique sort of thing. Mom, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, cousins, spent a lot of time with them. A lot of time by the Gulf Coast, which was a region I wasn't that familiar with. Yeah, it was amazing. It really was.
Why didn't he want to be quoted in the book?
I don't know for sure. I mean, so basically, when I first started, I sent him a couple of my books with a note. Never heard back. Mm-hmm. Then there's a website he works with called Score, and I had a few interviews arranged with him through them, where they would say call on Friday at 2, and I would call, and it would get blown off, and they would say, call next week at 6, and I would call. So those never went through. And then toward the end, I sent him another one of my books and a note, and he sent me a text just kind of saying that he didn't want to talk. He wasn't mad at me, but it just wasn't something he was interested in. And, I respect that. There's no reason he has to.
Was he concerned about, some things that would have been discussed that, some of the unsavory things that, happened in the latter part of his career in particular that created news for him?
I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting. I always think if I'm him, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the person. And on the one hand, if you talk to the writer, you certainly have more input in the message. So that's a positive why you should talk. On the other hand, you're not making any money off of it. You're lending your name to something, and you're not going to be able to see the end product. So it wasn't like it would be Jeff Pearlman and Brett Favre. It was my book.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, did he want to talk about sending pictures to a sideline reporter of his privates? I'm pretty sure he did not. On the other hand, I'm going to write about it anyway, so maybe you're better off contributing. I don't know.
Yeah. We had a situation here in Columbia where an author followed Steve Spurrier for 17 years, had complete access to him to write a book on Steve Spurrier when he retired. And when he wrote the book, he put some stuff in there about his father and the relationship between the two. And Spurrier cut him off and denounced him and said it was all wrong and full of errors and all this sort of stuff. And then he went and had Buddy Martin write another book about him, what he calls the true story of his life. So, I mean, were you kind of could you foresee kind of being in that same situation with Brett Favre in terms of his volatility and not liking the things that you put in there?
Well, he's not a particularly volatile guy. I mean, I would say Steve Spurrier is much more volatile than Brett Favre. But I do think, when you're in the media, you expect to take some hits. And it's hard because, especially with everything that's gone on with the presidential election, I feel like people are less trustworthy of the media than ever before. And we're all grouped into this one big thing. You know what I mean? Like you, me, CNN, Fox News, we're all grouped into this big blob of media where people no longer seem to trust us or trust our reporting or trust our ethics. So it's hard. And when people come out like this guy, I don't know whether the book was accurate or not, but I would assume it is. But then someone like with the power and name recognition of Steve Spurrier comes out and speaks against it, people are going to side with him. And with social media the way it is now, you take a lot of hits very quick.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, he did. Now, what what was the one thing in writing the book and investigating Favre that that you didn't know before that really amazed you or impressed you?
Well, there are a lot of things. I'll tell you one that I really love is before his senior year of college at Southern Miss, he got in a really, really bad car accident outside his home in Mississippi, and he almost died. And he wound up having 30 inches of his intestine removed, and he was not supposed to come back. First, he wasn't supposed to live, you know, when it happened. Then he wasn't, but there was no way he was going to come back to play his senior year. No way. Then he starts kind of practicing, and he lost 30 pounds of weight, and he misses their opening game. They play a Division II school, Delta State, and they barely win without him. And then he's not, their second game is Alabama's opener. It's at Alabama, at Legion Field. Gene Stallings' first game as the Tide's head coach. And amazingly, Favre comes back, and he starts against Alabama. And first play of the game, Favre is 30 pounds underweight. I mean, he's just skin and bones. And first play of the game, he gets drilled by a defensive end from Alabama, is driven to the turf, and is on the ground in pain. And the trainer comes running out for Southern Miss. Brett, are you okay? You okay? He's feeling the worst. And Brett goes, I got hit in my balls. And he gets back up. And here's the crazy thing. Southern Miss, a like 30-point underdog, beat Alabama 27-24 at Alabama. Oh, and at the end of the game, a great moment. At the end of the game, Gene Stallings, Alabama's coach, goes up to Curly Hallman, Southern Miss's coach. And Stallings says, hey, coach, I hope your quarterback's okay. And with a like big smile on his face, Curly Holman says, I think our quarterback is going to be just fine.
Yeah. Talking with Jeff Pearlman, who's written the book about Brett Favre, Gunslinger. In all your interviews, especially back in Mississippi or maybe around the NFL, did you find anybody critical of Brett Favre? Was everything positive? Did people just bestow their warmest thoughts about him?
Yeah, he was mostly a beloved teammate. His year with the Jets got a little weird. He was not available very much for his teammates. He was kind of hid in the back. He never ingratiated himself with his guy. It's not like they hated him. Yeah. He was a nice guy, but there was definitely a divide. He was changing with the coaches. He wasn't very involved. It's not like he ever took anyone out for dinner. So I wouldn't say people hated Brett Favre with New York, but they didn't really get to know him. And the other thing is, I found this with Walter Payton too when I wrote about him. He did pranks that if anyone else did it, if it was like the kicker or the third wide receiver, they would just get beaten up. Like he would be in the shower and he'd pee on a teammate's leg. Or he would take ice water, a bucket of ice water, and while you're taking a dump, he would dump it on you. And like you can get away with that stuff if you're Brett Favre or Walter Payton, right? Yeah. If you're Ryan Grant or Kittrick Taylor, whoever, you're not lasting very long in the league.
Sounds like just a day at the office around here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
But the transition from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, you touched on that, and that wasn't really a kosher relationship throughout the time that they were together in Green Bay.
No, and it's kind of understandable. That's the thing. You're taking a guy who was going to be who was a first-round draft pick, thought he should have been number one. In hindsight, should have been number one. He's very cocky. He's kind of tone deaf. He's only 21 years old. He shows up. Here's Brett Favre. He hasn't been challenged for his job in forever. He's entrenched. And all of a sudden, Rodgers is like, kind of coming in, and he's acting juvenile, and he's calling him grandpa. And it just was like Favre didn't want to relinquish this. This was his team. He didn't want to have a replacement. So he didn't go out of his way to have made his life hard. But I think it was understandable, to be honest.
Yeah. He didn't really. They say he didn't really help Rodgers, didn't work with him as you would, as you're preparing that next guy. Hang on a second, Jeff, if you can. Have you got a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Want to hold you over for just a couple more minutes talking with Jeff Pearlman, the author of Brett Favre, Gunslinger. He's also written about Walter Payton and K-Mac's favorite subject.
Yeah, the Showtime Lakers.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Loves that. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more in a moment. South Carolina Radio Network. Back to Jeff Pearlman in just a moment. But this reminder from the South Carolina Forestry Commission, insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood in threatened forests and campsites, neighborhoods, and state and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. You got that, Jeff? Don'tmovefirewood.org.
And don't smoke crack while you're driving a car.
That works as well.
Sage advice.
Yep.
All right, a couple more minutes with you. And I wanted to ask about what did you learn about the departure of Brett from Green Bay, kind of how that went down and the multiple retirements and then the eventual move to, I think it was the Jets and then the Vikings, but really the departure. You know, it doesn't always end poorly for people. It did in this case, the long relationship. What did you learn about that?
Yeah, we could talk for about 17 hours about this subject, so I'll give you the cliff notes. You know, he retired, and the Packers presumed this time he was serious. He held a press conference, he cried, and it was emotional, and that was it. So, okay, he's retired. Packers are happy. They can move on. They have a young quarterback in waiting. Then Favre decides, maybe I'm not retired. After a lot of awkwardness, First, they try offering him $20 million not to play. Then he decides he will play. Then they say he can come back and challenge Aaron Rodgers. Then that doesn't work out. Then they have a meeting at his house in Green Bay with him, his wife, a lot of the Packer reps. And he says he wants to play for Detroit, Minnesota, or Chicago. And they say, yeah, that's great. We'll just hand you over. So eventually, it's kind of funny. They end up negotiating with the Jets and the Buccaneers. And he's sort of okay with Tampa Bay and completely not interested in New York. GM of the Jets was Mike Tannenbaum, pretty nice guy, crafty guy, and he basically works out a deal with Ted Thompson, conditional pick. And he calls Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, and says, listen, I have a chance to get Brett Favre, but here's the deal. I don't know for 100% certainty he'll come. And if this deal works out, we're going to look brilliant. And if it doesn't work out, we're going to be the back page of the tabloids with the headline, "The Two Dumbest Guys in New York." So Woody Johnson said, do it. Just do it. Do it. And he makes a deal, and he calls Bus Cook, Favre's agent. And he says, Bus, Mike Tannenbaum, we just traded for Brett. And Bus goes, you did what? Are you out of your mind? What the hell are you thinking? And he's like, well, just you know what? Just let me talk to Brett on the phone. So he calls Brett up, and Brett, Mike Tannenbaum, New York Jets, we just acquired you. And Favre kind of pauses and he goes, well, let me ask you a question. What's the wardrobe for travel? And he goes, well, what do you want it to be? Shorts and T-shirt. All right, done. Tannenbaum flies down to see him. He orders a pair of khakis for him, and he stops in Mississippi before going to Favre's house to buy a tin of Copenhagen from the Piggly Wiggly, and he brings it over to Favre's house. And that is how the very short-lived marriage between Favre and the Jets began.
How about that?
Interesting. Well, when we think about football on the perimeter, what draws non-football fans or not traditional professional football fans are characters. Now we've gotten so Madison Avenue, it seems like every NFL quarterback is buttoned down. You don't see a Joe Namath or a Dandy Don Meredith. As you were working on this book, did you figure out that maybe Brett Favre is becoming anachronistic, meaning one of the characters of the game that people like us may have watched in a long time that crave to see more of at the quarterback position?
Yeah, absolutely. I also think what's interesting is, all right, like Johnny Manziel is a good example. So Johnny Manziel comes along, and he basically is Brett Favre from Brett Favre's rookie year in Atlanta. He's a screw-up. He can't get out of his own way. He's a moron. He's a dog. You know what I mean? Like, that was Brett Favre. The big difference, iPhones. It changes everything. And you can't be Brett Favre circa Atlanta anymore, or you end up Johnny Manziel. Everyone's clamoring for you. You know, you're publicly humiliated. You embarrass the franchise. Everyone's so worried about how they're going to come off, how they're going to look. So it just can't happen. You can't be that way. You can't even, like, I wrote a book about the '86 Mets. Those guys, there would be a keg in the clubhouse after games. Everyone's drinking beer after games. Then they would go out to the bars because you didn't have to worry about someone with a camera phone taking a picture of you drunk and falling off a stool.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore. So it's impossible to be that way anymore.
Are you working on anything right now?
I am indeed. I am. My dream sports book is a book about the USFL.
Okay.
A book that 4 people will buy, but that I really wanted to write.
Useful.
The use, or as the NFL called it, the useless.
Will you talk to the Donald about his involvement?
I'm hoping that Donald will talk to me, but I think it'll have to be. I'm kind of presuming at this point he will not win this election, so I think it'll have to be after the election.
He'll be available,
and he'll have to talk to the head ball coach eventually.
Yeah, talk to Spurrier.
I talked to him already.
Oh, okay, okay.
He was great.
How'd you find his mood? Yeah, how'd you find his mood?
He was great because everyone likes talking about the USFL. It's like talking about a slumber party you attended at 13.
He remembers every play he called.
Have you talked to Herschel Walker?
No, actually, what's so funny is I'm a little, to be totally honest, I'm a little hard on Donald Trump on Twitter sometimes, and I think Herschel's a pretty big Trump supporter.
Nah.
And he has not been so available.
So has he blocked you?
No, he's not blocked me, but
not
he's
blocked you. Hey, has Bobby Petrino blocked you? We're blocked by
my God.
we're blocked by Bobby Petrino and Dale Earnhardt Jr. We understand why Petrino, but we can't figure out why Dale Jr. would block us.
That I don't know either.
Yeah.
Petrino, to me, it's a badge of honor when you block by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's blocked.
I just want to say, imagine sending your 18-year-old kid to play for him. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's such a really good coach and a genius, but just a derelict in every other way. So
I wouldn't go near him with a anything.
Well, last thing, did you talk about the family? Why the spelling of the name and the pronunciation?
Yeah, well, it goes way, way, way back, and it's kind of funny. I found a book. There's a book in the library in Hancock County, and there was actually someone compiled a history of Favres, and there was a section of the Favres who spelled their name F-A-R-V-E. Then there was an offshoot that spelled it F-A-V-R-E. There was a black Favre family, F-A-V-R-E. It's like there's all the. I mean, it's French originally.
Yeah.
So whatever the spelling, the origin is, but there was always a Favre. From the beginning of the Favres, the V was before the R in one sect of Favre family. So I can't give you the great reason though.
Yeah. Hey, we thank you so much. Best of luck, and we'll have you back sometime in the future.
And if you guys each buy 500 copies of my book, I believe we can make the bestseller list together.
And I wanted to, and good point. Where can folks get the book?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, every bookstore by now.
Got it.
Out there.
Okay, great. Hey, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Jeff.
Take care. All right, Jeff Pearlman, author. Brett Favre, gunslinger. We thank him for being with us tonight. All right, want to get back to Clemson football. Tigers preparing to go down to Florida State to face a very good offense. The quarterback, the running back. Christian Wilkins will be a big part of Clemson's defensive effort. This week he talks about getting ready for Florida State and what they face down there in Tallahassee. And, of course, he wasn't on the Tigers 2 years ago, but he's watched video of that tough loss, and it's helped to prepare him. And okay, and we're going to get him prepared here for the air in just a moment, so he can talk about how that video, watching that game helped get him. Okay, you want to hold on it? Then I'm being told. Okay, all right. So we're swinging by the seat of our pants. Okay, I'll do this. Let me update what Will Muschamp is saying. He's got his call-in show tonight, Thursday night, and so a couple of things from him that are being tweeted out. Let's see. Got to get the ball more to Hayden Hurst, he says. He's the leading receiver. Needs a better killer instinct based on the fourth quarter. Prep for many things that UMass did but failed to execute. That's on the players, he said. He said the future of the quarterback. Now, this is Dabo-like. Muschamp. Paraphrasing here. Future of the quarterback position is as bright as any team in the country, with Brantley and McElwain. McElwain can throw the deep ball. They've got all the confidence in the world in him, he said. Really about building confidence at this time. Jonathan Walton will be back. Rodriguez Davis is out at least 2 more weeks. Donnell Stanley will be used only in an emergency situation, having a hard time pushing off his ankle. There you go. Some of the notes from Muschamp. Christian Wilkins will be coming up next. right, Christian Wilkins coming up in a moment. What a reminder here from South Carolina Electric Cooperative about dealing with the peak. That's the time when you come home and everybody else comes home and start using electricity, or you wake up in the morning with everybody else around you. They're all using electricity, and the price of electricity goes up, and you see it in your electric bill. So South Carolina Electric Cooperative has come up with a plan for all of its customers called Beat the Peak. It's programmed online. They'll send you an alert on days they expect a big peak. All you have to do is use a little less energy, hold off on washing those dishes, turn the thermostat either up or down, whichever way keeps it off, hold off on washing. By doing a few little things, you'll save, and together all of the customers will have power to beat the peak. So to help beat the peak, visit EnergySmartSC.org/beat-the-peak.
If it's over 100 degrees like we had all 1 week during the summer, that was a peak 24 hours a day.
No doubt. I'm sorry, I'm paying the price for my air conditioning when it's that hot. Now, Christian Wilkins, the Clemson defensive end, play a big role for the Tigers against Florida State. And, of course, he's aware 2 years ago the Tigers went down there and blew it. And it's kind of got him fired up about this trip.
Well, yeah, I did watch it. And, obviously we dominated that whole game and everything. And then just, we just let our chance go, really. We had opportunities to win the game. And, like I said, dominated the whole game and then just lost it late. And, I'm looking forward to playing at Florida State. They have a great environment and everything. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a great opportunity. A top 25 matchup, two really good teams going at it. I love going on the road, love playing in a hostile environment, so it's going to be a great opportunity for us.
Going into this, you guys enjoyed reversing some of that history.
Well, yeah, definitely. I know, it was big going into Georgia Tech earlier this year and getting that win after, 13 or a while since we beat them last. There and everything. So that was obviously a goal for us. And then coming into the season, Coach Sweeney also had a goal to win in Tallahassee. It's been a while since we won in Tallahassee last. So that really was a goal from the beginning of the season, and we looked to accomplish it.
Does this feel like this is the one and beat the Giants down at their place?
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that because, we've accomplished as a program. And like you said, that's one that we haven't done in a while. So, that's what we look to do this week, and come out with a big win.
Would this be the toughest team?
Yeah, thinking about it, it's definitely up there. They're a real good team. They're gonna have a great crowd, and there's gonna be live down there. It's gonna be a great environment. So we're really gonna have to prepare this week, come ready to play.
Is your fourth? Did you think at all that they've got a couple of losses now?
No, it doesn't really, because we know who we're gonna play. We know we're getting ready to play a really good football team. And they have a couple losses, but we like I said, they're a really good, talented team. So they have more than enough talent to beat us. So if we don't go down there ready to play, then we could possibly get a loss. So that's why this week is really big in preparation and taking advantage of the extended time we have with coming off the bye week and everything.
About how your role has really how it's very unique.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm definitely more than happy to help out and use what I'm fortunate enough to have, all my abilities and everything to help with the team as much as I can. Definitely fortunate, to be in a position where I could play a lot of different positions and be as versatile as I have been. So it's just really embracing whatever positions or whatever the coach has asked me to do and just doing it to the best of my abilities. It's pretty fun in the mix of having the ball in my hand. So either the fake punts or catching a pass, touchdown pass, they're all pretty fun.
The challenge of trying to stop Dalvin.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously, it's a big challenge. Dalvin Cook's such a good dynamic player, such a good runner, makes great cuts really fast. So he's going to have to play team defense and, no one get out. Everyone is going to have to do their job. No one's going to have to try to do anyone else's job or do too much. We're just going to have to be solid, big up front, and just dominate at the point of attack.
All right, Christian Wilkins of the Tigers. Now from Florida State this evening, some news that one of their receivers will be out for the game. Injured receiver Jesus Wilson is going to miss the game, and they will use Alden Tate, Naquan Murray, and Devontae Phillips to replace Wilson, who's out with a foot injury. Tate, you might recall, is originally from Irmo and was recruited in these parts before going to Florida State. So Tate filled in for Wilson when Wilson was hurt against Wake Forest, and he is 6'5", and an 11-yard touchdown reception in that game. So you probably see a bunch of him. Travis Rudolph, Kermit Whitfield will remain as the starters in their roles. Boy, Whitfield's one you got to be careful about too. He has that great speed.
Mm-hmm.
He is a real burner, both in terms of receiving, and I think they use him in the return game as well. So note coming out of Florida State about their situation. Hey, tomorrow night's big night of high school football once again in South Carolina. We remind you about the high school scoreboard here on Sports Talk and South Carolina Radio Network. Beginning at 10 and 10:30 and 11 o'clock, we'll have high school scores for you from across the state and all our high school football coverage here on Sports Talk, including the commentary of David Shelton, regularly on the program, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. All right, while we have a couple of minutes, let me do a couple of things. The South Carolina Football Hall of Fame has released their ballot for Player of the Year from South Carolina. You don't have to play for an in-state school, just have to be from the state. So some of the names on the ballot, Ben Boulware, D'Angelo Henderson from Coastal, Sam Houston, the linebacker from North Greenville, who was interviewed prior to the season, DJ Jones at Ole Miss, Chris Lamons, Darius Leonard, Rudolph is on the list, Carlos Watkins, Deshaun Watson, Christian Wilkins, who we just heard from, Mike Williams, Raleigh Yeldell. Those and others are on that list. The voting is ongoing for that. Some email here at talkback at sportstalksc.com. This is from Jim. Went to the Gamecock Walk last Saturday. Bentley and McElwain walked side by side. The difference in height and stature is striking. Bentley dwarfs BMAC. The simple ability to see over linemen gives Jake a huge advantage. There's probably something to that.
It does, but any quarterback that Drew Brees walks next to, he'll tell you.
But how many Drew Breeses are there? You know, there's an exception to everything, but usually only one. This is from Louise. Before Dabo said he did not want to hear the word lucky, Coach Venables had already said it. Our paper, The Herald, quoted Coach Venables talking about the NC State game as saying right after the game, we were lucky. I don't know why Coach Sweeney can accept things as they are, even if they aren't like he would like. To say it was a will to win when the opposing team's kicker missed a field goal that would have won it for them makes no sense. Well, actually, he addressed it again in the presser on Tuesday by saying, and we talked about it here on the show in talking about his view of it, how they blocked the earlier field